All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Big waves to you. Big waves to you. Good to see you. Good to see you. I see Randy out getting ready to get after it today. So, our word for today, let us know where you're tuning in from, by the way, in the chats and the comments. And it's good to be back with you. I was actually here yesterday. I was listening in, but I was traveling with a couple of great, amazing humans, and one of them was doing the Zoom yesterday. So, word for today is empower. Empower. It's been a while, but we've looked at this word before. Um, but I appreciate the person that I can't remember who it was that wanted to do this word again. But it's to give official authority or legal power to promote the self actualization or influence of. And I got to tell you guys, I've told you before, I'm reading a book right now that with Napoleon Hill that was written over 70 years ago, but it just got published in 2011. And it's called Outwitting the Devil. And it's a very deep thinking book if you have not, if you've not read it. But I'm in there, and a lot of it it really falls back on empowering and empowering the human thought, empowering thinking for yourself, empowering taking control of your life. Like, don't just assume everything just by the way you've been raised or brought up or the tribe you came from. Like, think for yourself. And how many of you agree that, man, so many times we'll do things, and are we doing it because we've researched it, or are we doing it because it was handed down year over year over year over year over year that this is just the way you do it? You know, and we laugh about grits all the time. Why do you like sugar and butter in your grits? Well, odds are it was programmed. Why do you like salt and pepper in your grits? Odds are it was programmed. So over the years. So here's my thing with empower this morning. Tom Ridge said this: you have to enable and empower people to make decisions independent of you. As I've learned, each person on a team is an extension of your leadership. If they feel empowered by you, they will magnify your power to lead. And those, to me, for me personally, like I'm trying to follow people at 46 years old that lead this way, that lead by empowering others to lead, right? Some people want to be the leader and they don't want anybody else. They just want a bunch of followers. I don't want to follow that human. Okay. I mean, no disrespect, but I want to follow the human that is empowering others to lead and think for themselves. Because I think there you could affect a nation, you could affect the world by getting people to actively think and empower themselves to lead and move. But here's the thing where I went this morning with empower. And I went with the example of an airplane. What happens on an airplane? You get on it and they talk about this oxygen mask that we all hope we never have to use. But one thing they make sure of is if things go bad, put your oxygen mask on first. And I believe that for Brent Palmer to empower others, I got to first empower myself. I got to first put the oxygen mask on myself. So that's where I went this morning. And Andrea is going to talk about how to empower others, but I went with how do I empower myself in this phase I'm in my life. Number one, I got to gain clarity about what is expected of me right now. Like, I got to have a roadmap, in my profession right now. Where am I going? Like where's my roadmap? Am I going to Oklahoma, or am I going to California, or am I going to Atlanta, Georgia? Like, I got to have a roadmap of where I'm about to drive to in this phase of my life. I got to gain clarity of that. to empower myself. Another thing, I got to find a mentor. Maybe my mentor of 10 years ago is not my mentor in the next phase. Maybe it is. Okay. But I got to have guidance. I got to have counsel. I got to have somebody that I can go to and I can go, hey, let me bounce some ideas off of you. And that will help me empower myself more. The last thing is I got to ask for consistent feedback. And here's what I mean by that. I just need some honesty in, hey, what do you think? Here's what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? Or here's what I did. What do you think about what I did? So having somebody, the best way to improve your skill and grow is to get feedback from people, the right people. And so those three things are the ways you can empower yourself in the phase that you're in right now. So Andrea, I'll turn it to you.
Well, great message, Coach. That was fantastic. And I'm still thinking about Buc-ee's, but I'll focus here. But what I looked into is how to empower other people. And I think that, truly, Coach, this is something that you have been very good at. So I know you hate me saying that, but when I was reading about this, I thought, well, when you pick a mentor that is focused on empowering others, you see it. Right? So you definitely see it. So first of all, the first way that we can empower other people is to build trust. If, people are going to have to trust us in order to work with us and be a part of our life, and that we can only achieve certain goals on our own. So when we are working with other people, we have to build that trust with them so that they are empowered to be able to stand on our shoulders, if that makes any sense. So how can we build that trust? Well, obvious things, keep our word, right? When we make a promise, we deliver it. Coach the other day talked about over promising and over delivering, right? If you can't go that far, just when you make a promise, deliver on it, right? Very simple. And then I'm going to add to that, be a vault. And, what does that mean? Have you ever had a conversation with somebody and they're like, listen, I'm going to tell you something you can't tell anybody. And all of a sudden you feel so tall, right? Because you're like, they really like me. But then if the next sentence, they're talking about somebody else, don't you like completely kind of lose trust in them? Because you think, well, if they're talking to me about them, then they're probably going to talk to somebody else about me. And it's very disempowering. So be a vault, right? We have people that are confidants, and if we have to, vent or share certain situations with those people that are really close to us, that's different. But when we're just talking to, kind of everyone, make sure that you're not spilling the beans on anybody else, right? No, if they're not your beans, try not to spill them, right? Number 2 is offer instruction. So share knowledge so that other people can become self-sufficient. So, the old adage, right? Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he can eat for all of his days. Right now, if I'm fishing, I really want you to do all the work and I just want to hold the rod when it's time to pull the fish out. So that's probably not the best one for me. But overall, I think we can see that. Like I think about, we'll just talk about something that I do is I make flyers, right? You guys have all seen some flyers, but that's something that I can teach anyone to do. I can empower anyone to go do it. I just need to take the time to sit down with you and say, hey, this is how you make it. And if we take the time to give somebody instructions, then they can feel confident and empowered to go do it themselves. So, I think about Anne and her garden, right? She could teach probably a master class on how all of us could feed our families for the rest of their lives if we followed her on how to grow a garden, or Brent on having a successful business, or me on how to attract every bird in the neighborhood to my yard. Like if that's something that you want, I can tell you all about it. But to empower people, we've got to give them those specific instructions. And then next, we have to show our appreciation. So one of the most effective ways that we can empower people is we can express appreciation for their efforts. And this made me think about my daughter. So when she was teeny tiny, she loved to feed us. Like, I think it's our Italian culture. We just like to eat and we like to feed other people. And so she would make like a piece of toast with a piece of banana on it and some cinnamon. And it might be kind of the grossest thing that you ever really had to eat. But if your kid feeds you, you eat it. Right. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, you are such a chef. You are so creative. You make the most beautiful things. I'll tell you, she's 16. She could feed a family. Like, she is an incredible cook. She makes pasta, like home. I don't even know how to do it. Like flour, I don't even know. Like, she can make anything from scratch, but it's because I appreciated every single step along the way. And now she's completely self-sufficient in the kitchen. Right. So if we appreciate people on those little steps towards something that they need to empower themselves, well, then they can absolutely feel confident to take that next step. With that, the last thing is recognize people's limitations, right? So we all have them. Every single one of us have, strengths. We have weaknesses. We have things that if we take onto our shoulders, we can handle it just fine. And we have other things that will absolutely be overwhelming to ourselves. And so when we're looking at the people in our lives, we have to look and see, is this something that they can actually shoulder, or am I asking too much? Because if I ask too much, I'm absolutely going to undermine their confidence and I'm going to disempower them. And with that, I think of my son, right? I need to get around some more people, but I think of my son, and he can mow a lawn, right? He can make the little lines. It can look real pretty. But if I said, okay, go get the weed eater and go edge the lawn. Now, I wouldn't know even how to tell him, but let's just pretend I did. I would not be taking into the account that the weed eater is almost taller than him and it's a little bit heavy. And that might be too big of a job for him at this time in his life. So that if he tries it today and I don't have the appropriate instruction and his body can't handle it, well, then when it's next year, when he probably could, he's probably going to think, ooh, that's not something I can do, because I didn't look at where he was at now when I asked him to do something. So, just recognize the limitations of the people in our life and ask them for things that are appropriate. So that's what I've got for you. This was a great one, Coach. Thank you so much. Whoever turned in this word, it was a great one.
Oh, it was a great lesson. You did step on my toes at the end, Andrea, because I think I threw the weed eater at my son and said, just go figure it out. So I don't know. Maybe
he's bigger though.
Maybe that wasn't the right way.
Man. Mine's little.
I said, just go figure it out. Figure out how to crank it. It'll work.
Well, I'll tell you this. He does a great job.
He does a good job. Well, guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you back tomorrow.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank
Many
you.
blessings.
Thank you.
Great message.
Congratulations.
Great talk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Andrea. Great
Love y'all.
message.
You guys have a great